Hello there. I am so excited to be here with you and share my expertise on how to relate to your audience. My name is Kamila, and I apply behavioral science to business. These days, what I do most of the time is to consult startups and help them develop a marketing strategy and product strategies as well. Today, I will walk you through the basics of applied behavioral science. That is what actually behavioral science is, why you should care about it now, how is it developed, and how you can profit from it, and what are the next steps that you can take on your own. If you want to be on the cutting edge in business, this is the topic you want to pay attention to. It doesn't really matter if you're just starting out as a freelancer or if you are a more experienced one. Knowing how to relate to your audience is crucial at every step of your journey. Behavioral science gives you tools to achieve better understanding of people at the receiving end of your product. It usually enhances your marketing, sales, as well as customer experience. Okay, let's dive into the presentation. Let's dive into the first topic. What is behavioral science? Behavioral science is a multidisciplinary field that encompasses psychology, sociology, political science, behavioral economics, and social anthropology. These are some of the loudest fields that explore the human mind and human society. These scientific fields give us theory and data about how people think, so how they form decisions and how they perceive reality. What are their emotions, so how they are feeling when they see a particular stimuli, and also how the human brain acts upon what it perceives. It is a job for people like me to take these findings and find a useful application in the real world. Knowing how your clients and stakeholders think, feel, and behave is one of the most powerful tools you can have in your business. Using that core knowledge, you can form smarter decisions or market your product using fewer resources and less energy. Businesses have been using these findings about human behavior to help people and generate profit. Sometimes they manage to do both, and I think it's really admirable when someone does that. So let's take a look at some of the examples. We can consider governments who design programs that drive behavioral change of millions of people to reduce water pollution or air pollution. Or take hospitals that work with behavioral scientists to plan treatment care to raise compliance among their patients. Or we can consider startup incubators that use methods of behavioral science to test new business ideas and find the right target groups for their new products. Or last, let's take a look at marketing. Ogilvy Consulting and other marketing agencies create winning ads with intention to appeal to emotions of their potential clients. And you'll find many more examples in your everyday life. Examples of products, services, or social initiatives that have been developed by behavioral scientists. Areas that you might want to freshen up with behavioral science in your business. It's marketing, sales, and customer experience. They often go hand in hand. Take, for example, the Uber map. It does not really reduce the waiting time, but it definitely makes it less frustrating when you know what exactly is going on with your driver. And I would like to introduce you more of these concepts that I really find fascinating. So let's start with nudges. These are tiny pushes towards the desired outcome, a small dose of positive reinforcement every time you do something. Governments use nudges very often to promote public health or to protect environment. For example, Australia managed to nudge people into smoking less, the USA nudged students into picking healthier snacks at school, and there is a lot of great things that have been achieved thanks to these small shifts in choice perception. Second, people love having fun, and behavioral designers know that. So when you run 10K and you get a special badge in your Fitness Plus account, it's a gamification feature right there. Or when you unlock a new level by learning Spanish vocabulary in Duolingo, you're having fun, right? It doesn't really feel like learning at all. Or when you fill in a test in Kahoot and you compete with your classmates for the gold medal, it's also a bit more fun than a regular test, isn't it? User profiling. Next time you open up your Netflix account, try to explore it from a different perspective. Netflix has mastered the art of user profiling. You always see what other people with similar taste are watching. You see the top 10 ranking films. A round number is not a coincidence here. And they are really showing you recommendation with this match coefficient, right? That's so brilliant. Habits. I recommend you to read Atomic Habits by James Clear to dive deeper into this topic. The concept of building habits also relates to the evergreen theory of social cueing, the fact that salience of our perception schemas tend to vary from situation to situation. Simply put, when you are having a good time with your friends, you should grab a Coca-Cola. And a lot of your everyday activities can be used to remind you of certain products. Building new habits, on the other hand, is a bit trickier, but it also does wonders. And we get to the last one, mental accounting. I guess some of you have already wondered why there are always 3 subscription plans to any service you encounter. Well, there are studies that show how irrationally we perceive gain, loss, payment, billing, and fees. And mental accounting is the field that explores how to anchor our negotiated price or what context you should provide for your users to decide which plan is the best. So we already discovered that behavioral science studies human thinking, feelings, and behavior. We also know that the field offers tools to use that knowledge to create better experience, sell smarter, and help other people. Right now, I want to offer you some arguments and examples why to care about behavioral science now. Simply put, because it's the perfect timing for you. If you want to be on the cutting edge of business innovation, which I believe you do, because otherwise you wouldn't really be tuning into my freelance business month session right now. This is really the topic that has been on the rise for some time, and you can still join the early adopters and gain the competitive advantage. The tech giants especially have been testing behavioral science in business for years, and the results are simply stunning. Consider, for example, what Facebook did to the attention span of a whole generation, how they managed to create new habits for millions of their users. So now the first thing many of us are doing is to grab a phone as soon as we wake up and check our feed or messages. And I can hear your objection. You are not the evil Facebook company and you don't want to manipulate the public for your own personal gain. That is really good. Neither do I. So let's explore more ethical examples. There are many of them. For example, governments have adopted behavioral science to help the environment or to promote health. Take Australia, for example, where behavioral researchers try to develop a successful plan to reduce smoking in public areas. Or if you take a look at Disneyland at the moment, I believe they also changed the default settings in their kids menu to include fewer calories and get healthy drinks into the menu. So there are a lot of good examples as well. And what does this illustrate us? First, that behavioral science is a tool and we need to use it wisely. Second, we already have data, successful data that we can learn from. These are some other examples from which we have resources on the use of behavioral science. IKEA, Ogilvy Marketing, the Nudge Unit, they have been doing some amazing work with COVID-19 initiatives in the UK. And also Netflix is the perfect example. And lately, some local services and smaller business started using behavioral science too, because they discovered that small change can lead to a big difference. You can consider opt-in and opt-out a very smart way to influence our decisions. And I encourage you to seek for behavioral science patterns in your life, and I guarantee you that you will find dozens of strategies that you can adjust and adapt for your business. So we know that knowing how people think, feel, and behave is a great tool that you can use in your business. We also know that this is the ideal timing to start on the cutting edge of the field. Now, the next logical step is for me to tell you how can you profit from the behavioral science in your real life. There are two ways to do behavioral science and apply it to business. The first one is academic research. The second one is business adaptation. For those of you who don't speak the Apple lingo, academia is rather rigid and expensive, yet produces the most reliable results. And in this analogy, MacBook Air is enough if you want to get the things done and save resources, just as business adaptation of some of the methods that are used in academic research might get things done for you in business. I think this piece is so crucial that I made a brief preview on my website. So this is actually taken from my website right now. And I always like to present this to my clients. This is a threefold theory that I like, partly because I was the one who made it up, but mostly because it really explains the process in a very elegant way. So there are two steps in it. First, you need to get a rough estimate based on theoretical knowledge, what we already know from academic papers and research from other companies, to give you a very rough idea about what you might want to look for. In the second step, you want to test your assumptions and refine your predictions. So you take it out of the lab to the real world. You do interviews, you do polling, you do testing, and then you might want to add a twist and iterate all the different versions and possibilities until you reach the ideal result. Let's take an example. So let's say you want to get as many email addresses as you can and establish connection through publishing high quality newsletter, same as Adam Grant or James Clear do. So you know from the research that people like familiar stuff, so producing a newsletter that will be viewed often can also raise your selling point. And you also know that when you give people free know-how, say a booklet in exchange for their email addresses, it also raises their commitment to your brand. So you create a newsletter and you add there like this regular button, subscribe, give your email address here and get this newsletter. And let's say you get a number of potential email addresses but it's still not as high as you would expect it. So you have given them this wonderful gift. So you're wondering why there are no more email addresses. Then you decide to conduct a series of interviews and discover that, for example, many people are really avoiding these services because of their fear of spamming emails. So now you discover that people are reluctant for a completely new reason. So you want to tackle it, right? Naturally. And you can opt out for, you can opt in for a very small piece of information that you will include next to the button that says that the newsletter will only appear in their mailboxes once in a month. Then you test it and discover that adding a human touch, we promise, got you the best results, right? So we had theory, we tested it, and we added a little twist. All right, so in the last part of the presentation, I would like to offer you an activity. So what can you do today to relate to your audience? There are just so many questions that we would like to know the answer to. For example, what does your audience like to do? What are their main interests that you can leverage? What do you think about their view on your USPs? What do they say is the most important? What are some key topics? This activity will require some time spent on the business rather than in the business. So try to treat yourself like a client. I'm sure you've already heard this today multiple times. So yeah, let's try to do this. Your first step that I would recommend is to sum up what you do not know about your audience and put it down, right? So it could be a marketing persona that you can create in Miro or just put it on the paper. There are lots of templates out there, so don't worry about if you do not know how to set up a marketing persona. There is plenty of material available. Or it could be as simple as to sit down and make a list of questions that you would like to ask. For example, if you have a new website or a new portfolio, you might want to ask your target group what their opinion is. The second step is to think about ways to get the answers that you need. Of course, you can use one method, for example, asking people. So that would be interviews, maybe deep interviews. But most likely you will be burning unnecessary time and energy. So I think it really makes sense to try about more different ways to access the data you need. And you might find that it is very low cost and time efficient as well. I would like to share with you a method library with detailed descriptions. It is really amazing. It helped me a lot when I was starting out. And yeah, try to explore all the possibilities you have. So you might want to enter into internet discussions, or you might discover that somebody else has already written an article about what you want to know from your target audience. So there are just so many ways that you can leverage what you want to know without actually having to ask people. Yeah, this method library is highly recommended. It is for free, and yeah, they basically offer a lot of detailed descriptions of all the methods you might want to use. The third step is to prepare your research beforehand. This could include, for example, interview scripts, plan of observation, and at this point, you should already think about how you are going to sort out your data. This is really dependent on the method you will use. Just keep in mind that the time of your audience is very precious, so try to be as prepared as you can get. The fourth step is actually to do the research. Ask people, observe. Maybe it would include also building a prototype that you will then test. It is really the hands-on job. So you will probably gain new insights, and right now it is time to organize them systematically. This could include updating your marketing personas or maybe creating cards with key insights, jobs to be done. Again, I will share the method library with you. Don't worry, the descriptions are very detailed, so you will know how to analyze your new experience. And now you might want to think, okay, I will implement the changes and I will be done forever. It is not the case. It is never the case because your work is iterative. And I guarantee you will find more interesting topics that you might want to explore. And first, you might want to implement the new knowledge, the new experience, and then proceed to repeat this 6-step process again. We are all limited by time constraints, so you will never actually know everything about your audience. But at the end of this mini research of your own, you will be able to relate to them more than before. So we've learned that behavioral science is a multidisciplinary field that explores how people think, feel, and behave. It also gives us some viable strategies for our business. The usual way to incorporate behavioral science into what we are doing is to get a theory, to get a rough estimate, then test it in real settings, and then iterate it until we reach the ideal result. It's been a delightful experience to be here with you. If you have any insights or if you want to share anything with me, I'll be very happy to do that. Click on the link for a Zoom meeting after the session, or just drop me a line on LinkedIn. I will be very happy to hear from you. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed my session, and see you next time.